Everybody, and welcome to another Third Thursdays webinar from BenQ. Thank you for those of you that have joined. Usually we have about 50 to 60 people here, so we're going to wait a couple more minutes before we start as more seem to be joining. It looks like we have a good combination of current interactive flat panel customers as well as resellers and some potential customers. So this usually the last ones have all been on the interactive flat panels. This time we'll be presenting on the InstaShow wireless presenter. I do see we've got some people on here that have been evaluating it, and if you would like to talk about what you've been doing, your evaluation after Tommy does his demonstration, just do so in the chat box, or if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box, and I'll be watching those as Tommy presents, and then I'll be asking Tommy questions, and Bob Wudeck will be on here as well. He's the product manager for the InstaShow. After Tommy presents how the product physically works, then Bob will be talking about how we compare to the competition and helping us answer any questions. Nadine from California may or may not be joining us, but she has a few big customers out in California that she may come and chime on how they're using the InstaShow. Tommy, how you coming along with your Logitech camera?
Coming along, it's finishing its thing here. I'm about ready to start sharing.
Okay, great. So I guess in summary, any questions, throw them in the chat box. If you feel like talking about your experiences with the InstaShow, let us know in the chat box. Once Tommy's done showing how it works, we'll pass it over to Bob Wudeck. Bob will talk about how we compare to the competition. In the chat box, I'll also throw in an InstaShow video that I've done with my experience out of the box the first time I touched the InstaShows, just to show you how easy it is to use, so you'll have that for reference as well. But with that, let's shoot it on over to Tommy.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Bill, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
My preview computer is being stuck in reboot world right now. So anyway, welcome. Like Bill said, today we're going to talk about the InstaShow. Some of you have witnessed one of these, so comes in a nice little box and everything. Anyway, let's get to the real stuff, because the box doesn't matter. Everything we do here at BenQ is based around security, the simplicity of use, and the safety. So on this, let's go real easy. So the easiest way to hook up your interactive white panel or your projector is simply use an HDMI cable, plugs up to the computer, and a USB cable. So I have my computer here, my backup trusty handy dandy computer plugged in, so my USB is connected, my HDMI is connected on the side, and I plug my power up because this battery's kind of toast. So we can do about anything we want to here. So I can go back out here and pick up an application. And I'm actually driving my laptop computer, of course, from this. Kind of tough to see right now, but you kind of get the gist of what's going on. So if we want to do this wirelessly, let's do it a different way. So we created the InstaShow, which comes with these little button kits. It's kind of tough to see, but it has two wires on it. The two wires are HDMI. So that will plug directly up to your computer or other devices we'll talk about later, and the USB for power. So the other part of this is the receiver kit. This is the part that goes behind the flat panel. And with that, we have 4 antennas that go on this bad boy. And that allows us to wirelessly communicate between our laptop and the panel. So once I get these little guys on here, we will start plugging this bad boy up and show you that now, with the aid of a little bit of electronics and no network, mind you, just a little bit of electronics and some power, we're able to wirelessly connect. So I'm going to take this loose over here from my laptop. You'll see the screen behind me go away, plugging up the USB and the power. or excuse me, the USB and the HDMI. Now I'm going to go back here and grab power. Set this back on my counter. It's booting right now, so there's nothing really going on my screen. I'm going to plug this up to the laptop that I showed you earlier. So can't really show what I'm doing here, but trust me, I'm plugging up the USB.
So while Tommy's doing that, I'll just kind of note that this is hardware agnostic. It doesn't have to be with the BenQ product. It can be with any brand display, projector, panel, non-interactive panel. It even works since there's no drivers. It'll work with a microscope, document camera, other devices as well, as far as the plugging into there, since there's no driver needed. And I probably should have introduced Tommy a little bit better as well. He's come from the school side. He worked for the University of South Carolina. He's come from the reseller side, and now we're happy to have him over at BenQ on the manufacturer side. So take it away, Tommy.
You have my full screen to show us?
Yes, yeah, that seems to be the view you wanted.
That's the view that I wanted. Okay, so just for refresher's sake, we have one of the dongles, and you can see that it's green, one button to run it. Anyway, USB, HDMI. If I click onto this right here, this is going to turn blue, and I'm sharing exactly what's going on back here. So now, even wirelessly, of course, I can drive. So let's scroll up here and see that things are going on out in the Atlantic. Those of us that live on the East Coast, this is the time of year we start watching this stuff. But anyway, we can go and look at other things. So I'm driving my laptop wirelessly through InstaShow. So with InstaShow, we can run multiple buttons. So one button is plugged up to my laptop. I'm going to cheat here. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing because I have no preview this morning. So I have a little Apple wall wart that charges my iPad. I'm going to plug in and get power there. See this little guy starting to boot. Now this is one of my Roku devices. You know, it's just basic HDMI out kind of product. I'm going to plug that up now, and we're blinking green because we're starting to connect and talk to things. So now that we're green, I should be able to do that. Notice that I have split screened on the monitor. So we have our laptop on one side. I have my Roku running over here on the other side. And, so we can do this. Now the beauty of this is if I had two more buttons, what I could do is quad this. So I would have 4 images up at one time. So 4 people presenting in 1080p. This, of course, is a 4K display, so we've kind of divvied everything up in that. So that is what we're trying to do here. The beauty of this, when we get past this, is my system will support up to 32 of these guys. So if you're in a classroom and you have 30 students and you're wanting everybody to be able to show their stuff, so if I turn my laptop off, that button went green. So now I have full screen over here. If I want to stop showing, of course, all I do here. The next guy with the button can click once again and take control of the presentation and around the room. The beauty of doing these things, I keep saying the beauty of it because this is kind of ingenious, because all of the product that I've used in the past, at my time at the University of South Carolina and my time selling AV products throughout the Southeast, we haven't had a product that gives us the ability to power remotely, to be able to take any HDMI and be able to use it to present. So this Roku just represents all of the things that could be out there in the field that you want to use. So this could be a microscope in a lab situation, where if I wanted to show what's going on through my microscope, if it has an HDMI out, we can put it up here on the screen, which means, like you're seeing it right now, I'm sharing this screen back with my laptop that's connected to the connected to the conference today. So you're seeing my actual screen. So we could do this. I could plug this up to Raspberry Pis. If I'm teaching in a STEM class and want to talk about programming, be able to look at different kids' little projects there without having to pick the whole project up and go to the front of the room to the lab table and be able to do this. So this is kind of unique. The other nice thing about this, it doesn't ride on your network. It takes up no network bandwidth. It has no network security vulnerabilities. It operates as a standalone system which allows you to use it. If you're corporate guys in here today and you're hearing a lot about education, well, we talk a lot of education, but even in your corporate boardroom, right now we know that people are taking things and getting in through your network firewalls to be able to look at your conference rooms through your codecs, through the things that you share your intellectual property with your staff, and talk about the ways and the places that you're going. With this kind of system, you're not going to have to worry about it being picked off on the web, because this is totally standalone. It resides only in the room. It's paired. So the button kit is paired with the receiver that I showed you earlier. Nobody else gets this signal. It's a one-to-one relationship, just like you walking down a corridor listening to your music on your AirPods. Nobody else hears your music but you. They can't steal your music out of the air without pairing. So in the pairing process, we have finished the security loop on this. You know, I talked about earlier that everything we do is with security, simplicity, and safety in mind. Well, network security, very big topic these days. So with network security, of course, we want to make sure that we can't be eavesdropped on from the outside world. The other thing about when we talk about safety, of course, there are no, if you plug this up, there are no trip wires to trip on, you know, because we're running wirelessly out in the room. So that also cuts down on our installation costs, because now we're not putting stuff in brick and mortar, which is very expensive to do. And we can power and provide a lot of different things just by a little bit of power. This one's kind of exaggerated because this is the first one I could grab, but you could use a smaller one just to power this device. So, like I said, we can do multiple images on the screen, up to 4 at one time with no additional hardware. So to buy the kit with 4 buttons, you're in a situation where we have quad screen, wireless, one price. It's not an annual renewal, any licensing or anything that you have to do like that. So in this scenario, your cost of ownership is buying it. You buy it once, uses a little power every time you pull it out of the box or turn it on in the classroom or boardroom, but your total cost of ownership is that. In 2 years, your integrator is not going to come back to you saying, you know, you need to get a new license. You need to buy a renewal. There is no renewal on these guys. This is buy it once, own it for life. Let's see, anything else I want to talk to you about since, like I said, kind of crazy this morning. Anyway, guys, if you have questions on Bill.
Does it work with USB-C?
I'm sorry, what?
Does it work with USB-C as well as HDMI? There's USB-C pucks or adapters.
Yeah, we do have USB-C pucks. I forgot to mention that. So this comes in either HDMI or it comes in USB-C for you Mac guys, for you guys that are driving new laptops like I am with my Lenovo. So we do have those available for you. Like I said, this is a real straightforward product. It does what it says it'll do every day of the week. And you don't, you know, as long as you can teach somebody to literally press a button, you're on and you're sharing. If it's a touchback environment from anybody's IFP, interactive flat panel, that USB is going to follow back to be able to drive your laptop just like I was doing here. So
works with any brand projector, yep.
Yeah,
non-interactive monitors, anything.
Yep, any brand, anytime. Now, I would really suggest that if you're in a large gymnasium or a large meeting room, we had some spaces on campus that would seat 750 people. You know, I would put within this near where they're going to present. In other words, I wouldn't try to put the receiver 300 foot, you know, down the hall in the closet together. You know, 40, 50 feet, you're probably good. This is really built for a 30-person classroom. So the size of that's probably 30 foot apart at any time. You know, when you stretch that out, you probably shouldn't. But this has got plenty enough range for the average teacher to walk around the class and teach or share from any point in the class totally wirelessly, because these two hook up. There are no more wires, and you're presenting and doing what you need to do in class. Any questions?
No, I think Patrick Lopez asked a question. Is the USB-C one cable now, or does it still take a second to snag power from another USB?
Good question. No, our USB-C is one cable. This is difficult to do and get enough power over one connector. USB-C, because you can charge through USB as well as do your network stuff. USB-C is very open. You can do a lot of things through one connector. That's why it's gaining popularity. So a dongle at that would only have a USB-C cable right here and no regular USB.
Right. So currently for the WDC10 comes with USB-C cables on the 20. That'll be a question for Bob as far as when the USB-C pucks will be available.
Yeah.
So should I turn it over to Bob? And
well, the one last thing that I will tell you is we sell these button kits separately. So when the USB-Cs are available, this is from a WDC20. This is the new one. So the 20C, or excuse me, the regular 20 comes with two of these guys. Comes with the holder for them. Now this is more of a corporate kit. So what we do in the classroom kit, we have the WDC20E, and the 20E gives you one classroom button, one receiver. It's pretty plain Jane vanilla. The boxes doesn't have all of the beautiful pictures on it, but it's built and priced effectively for your classrooms. So I've shared it with a number of schools, shared it with a number of universities and small community colleges, and it's very, very competitive, especially when you look at what it's going to cost to own it downrange. So we have that. We also have the 10, as Bill said. That's same kind of thing, a little different. Bill and I will be happy to explain that one to you and how it fits in your agenda or not. So yeah, at this point, Bill, any more questions coming in?
Just, I think somebody's asking the price. Joan Roach is asking the price, which, the 10 is what, like $5.99 maybe, and the 20E is about $5.99. We have a seed unit program, so I'll look up that pricing while Bob's doing his piece, or Bob might know it off the top of his head. But
I know the 20E has an education price, I believe, of $6.99, and we do have first-time buyer programs. We have a try and buy program. We'd love to talk to you about those individually. So just get with me and Bill. I handle the Southeast U.S. I probably should have said that up front, but I was panicking for trying to get my technology to work. But anyway, I handle the Southeast, so I have North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee. Of course, Bill has a myriad of states that I don't even try to remember. But reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to help. I'm sure you should have emails from us for this. If not, just reach out to the offices, and our guys will forward that to you. If you'd like to see one of these in person, let us know. Be more than happy to come out and make an appointment to put BenQ technology in front of you, let you touch it, feel it, smell it, see that it works in your application. Bring your money guy that controls whether you get to buy toys or not. Let us show it to them. Let them see the value in it. We'd love to talk to you about that process.
All right, well, let me turn it over to Bob Wudeck now.
All right, let me turn on my webcam. Hello, everybody.
Okay. Oh, so Joe just
so, Bill, can you see my screen?
Not yet. And I just want to let everybody know that everybody will be getting a recording of this. So I know Joan missed the first part of it. So there'll be a full recording of this whole presentation. We can see your PowerPoint now, Bob.
Okay, I'll turn on my webcam and see if that breaks it. But all right, actually, I'm going to turn it off because it's slow. All right, so this comparison is based off of originally 3 years ago. We met with Rice University, who in our status, he is the most paranoid IT guy in the planet in North America, because they have all of the Department of Defense space files on their system. So what Tommy was talking about security, that has been put into all of these systems, which is why Tommy plugged in the USB. That's the first thing he did, because they've had numerous attempts on their network on various other wireless presentation systems. In fact, there were 8 in 2019 that allowed a wireless presentation system to shut down their network. So we passed the test on that. He did say that wireless presentation systems are rapidly eclipsing traditional systems like Crestron and AMX in these classrooms, because as they get to smaller classrooms, the concept of spending $50,000 to support 2 or 3 or 4 sources can be solved with a, at that point, a $1,500, now a $500 system rather than a $20,000 system. But one of the things that they didn't like was the fact that all of these were network dependent. So in the past 3 years, more schools have gone into these wireless presentation systems because they've been easy, but you could get any flavor you wanted of this as long as it was vanilla, which basically meant it was going to be using your network. It was going to have 30 frames per second of video, and in many cases, it didn't support the current 4K display. So what we did for the classroom is we took our corporate, we shifted from corporate, because corporate you have to have 4K. A marketing person will never tolerate a 30 frames per second video when they're trying to show off their product, and finance people want lots and lots of screens. So the chart on the right is basically the most popular ones that we see in both K-12 and higher ed. Airtame, Mersiv, Kramer, Vivi, all are the basic low-end systems that use the network, and then Mersiv and Crestron are typically found in higher education systems. And I think almost all of these require some sort of subscription in order to ensure that your network doesn't get breached down the line with some new hack or something like that. So our basic premise was, we don't like the concept of having you guys carry the load with your network and expose your network to a wireless presentation system. It should just do its job without having to require you to reconfigure your network. So Tommy talked about this. We don't have a software license. It's very easy. He just basically did an installation in about 8 or 9 minutes right from scratch. So that's how easy it is. We actually gave one to Commercial Integrator Magazine, to their marketing department, and what do you know? They installed it in their conference room and recorded it on video. The last bullet point on the slide, though, is that it is highly secure. So all of the content is encrypted. It has LAN management to remote management, and it also has been tested against the common threats. We have a detailed security white paper for it. Any of you are paranoid like the Rice University guy was. We have lots and lots of security backup. In fact, we gave it to a Washington, D.C. analyst who I've known in my career, who's good at BleachBit and all that other kind of stuff, and he spent 2 months trying to break it and publish a blog article that we can do. But after COVID-19, the biggest problem has been bandwidth. Okay, the first time we showed this publicly at an education show, everybody was using Chromecasts, and all of the IT guys were coming up and going, I can't handle this. Too much bandwidth, too low security. It's like herding a bunch of rats on my network. It was crazy. So we listened to them, and then we realized that virtually everybody else does the same thing, just a little bit less bandwidth. So Airtame is 13 megabits per second, Kramer is 25 per screen. If you do 1080p, why would you do less? And the number will vary. And Mersiv does not disclose how much bandwidth they use. So they have the highest resolution. You could do maximum number of screens. So I don't know what the calculation is, and I don't want to guess. InstaShow is designed to keep that bandwidth off of your network. And this is the one thing we heard from every IT manager that runs a school network, is they don't want more things on their network. So basically, what we designed to do is it works on its own Wi-Fi frequency. So we have a router chip that's in here. It will go after every single frequency it can find on a Wi-Fi thing and bounce from one open frequency to another, just like your Bluetooth radio has. It's a high level, just like the high-end chips you see in your routers today. This will do the same thing. So The idea here is that when you are looking at a wireless system, to avoid having to buy and install 45-foot HDMI cables on a flipped classroom, 45-foot USB-C cables, which are even harder to find, or if you're just simply transitioning from a VGA installed cable that's in your wall to try to do something more advanced like HDMI, the InstaShow gives you the ability to do that without having to rebuy it every year or two like you have to do with the Vivi. And you also don't need to spend your professional development hours training people on how to do this, and you don't have to deploy an app on your teacher's notebooks and your student Chromebooks. It's basically plug and play. It was originally designed for a senior vice president who needs the simplest and most elementary product and a simple usage model because that's all they can handle. But we found that it works great in the classrooms. We sold a number of these into schools already. And but as you can see, it's not just the same vanilla piece where you just have an app on your network. It's definitely a different flavor of ice cream that has a different mode of operating, and it's much simpler and much more secure than anything else out there that we can find. Now, it is a little bit more expensive than, say, an AirTame or a Vivi, $100 or so by the time you get through with a full deployment. But it's a lot less expensive than your immersive Solstice and your Barcodes and your other systems that are designed for more high-end corporate stuff. So it gives you the corporate ability to do that without having to pay the $2,500 that a typical Barco system would cost you in a classroom. So overall, we'd like to hear your feedback, and I know a lot of you guys are looking at this, so Bill, I'll just turn it back over to you and see if there's any questions that we have that we can answer.
Now you're presenting, Bill.
Okay, great, thanks. So Joan is asking if used by an entire school, will each classroom need it?
Yeah, each receiver goes to a display. So basically, let's call it $500, right? You put the receiver on your projector, your panel, your television, whatever you have, monitor, any display that will accept an HDMI port can be used. Then the buttons are actually paired to that receiver. Now you can connect the receiver to the school network and monitor it, but it's not going to send data, any content data over the school network the way all of these other systems will be. So you're talking, you know, bits versus burdening the school network down there. So each device that is going to be wirelessly used in the classroom, each display has a receiver, and then you can have, as Tommy said, up to 32 different inputs to share their screen in that 45, 50-foot space.
This is split screen teaching wirelessly. So the other thing I'll show you is what's built into our interactive flat panels. So we've got, you know, Tommy already showed the InstaShare where he was mirroring what was on the panel on his device. I'm going to do it the opposite way. I'm going to wirelessly cast. So I just want to show one with our new panels. You can now split the screen, and I can do two separate things. And then two, I could open up InstaShare, and I can wirelessly cast from my device into a split screen. Smart Notebook, for example, so I'm wirelessly doing Smart Notebook here, annotating in it. I can split the screen. Oops. Here, and I can drag Google over there, and I could be surfing a Google page about the food chain while I'm wirelessly casting. Or as Tommy showed, you can, and I can split the screen into 1, 2, 4, or 9 pieces using the InstaShare application. So possibly in Joan's situation, you know, she could potentially do this depending on how her network is, but I can drag myself into 1, 2, 4, or 9 split screens. So we have two ways to do it, either with the InstaShare, which is in our panels, where you can do 1, 2, 4, or 9 people into a split screen. There's a built-in split screen on our panel. Or you've got the InstaShow that's 4K native that splits into up to 4 1080p images, and you can switch presenters that way. With the InstaShow, obviously, it doesn't have to be with interactive panel. It can be with the projector, multiple other devices, and you'll be able to mix and match. You could use the InstaShow with the panel, as Tommy had shown. Do we have any questions on that piece? That was kind of unpracticed and not as smooth as I'd like to have been, but all right. And Bob, was Tommy accurate on the price? Is it 500 or 600 for the first-time buyers for the WDC?
Well, the single unit price is $699,
okay.
and that's but typically for schools, we have first-time buyer pricing, and then we have special school pricing. So I would say, if you budget a little bit more than a Airtame, which is about $400. So we typically are in the $500 range. But what you pay for that is subscription free and a much simpler application. You don't have to reconfigure 30 ports on your network, and you don't have to calculate 13 megabits of bandwidth and per classroom or display. And you also get very, very fast video.
Okay.
The other final piece on that is that all transmissions on these buttons are encrypted. So, for example, some of them, either it's optional, or in the case of Airtame, there is no encryption. So anybody that is halfway decent with wireless technology can pluck it right out of pluck any content right out of the air and watch it if they know what they're doing.
Okay, great. Yep, and it looks like 537 is the seed price for the WDC20E, 650 for the WDC20, 555 for the WDC10C, and 499 for the WDC10. One per school. I'd say the advantage of the 10 would be it has a little further distance to it, but the 20 allows you to support multiple users, including Miracast, Chromecast, and it's a little stronger in a smaller area because it does frequency hopping, and it's 4K versus just 1080p on the WDC10. But if you just want to go point to point and replace a cable, replace a 50-foot cable, the WDC10 or 10C may be fine for your needs. In a gymnasium, for example, half a gym, something like that, conference room, small auditorium. The WDC20 and 20E are probably great for something like the boardroom, where you've got people from outside the school coming in. They're not going to want to load data onto their device to be able to present. They just want to be able to plug it, push a button, show their work, get out of there, never come back again, potentially. So we appreciate everybody's time. Everybody will get a copy of this recorded message. Everybody will get a Starbucks gift card for attending. If anybody has any last questions, let us know. Otherwise, we'll give you an extra 10 minutes in your day. So thanks, everybody, for coming, and thanks, Bob and Tommy, for doing your presentation.
Thank you all.
Yep.
Thanks, Bill.
Yep, thank you, guys.